nearly time for qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza.
Hello and welcome to Front Row Racing's World Series. It's round 12, it's Monza, and in the beautifully positioned commentary booth in the middle of the Italian woodland here is myself, Dave Lazinbeds, and joined as per usual by Steve Sherbets. How are you this evening?
I'm alright.
You're alright now, you've opened your bottle of beer. Yep. We've also got in the pit lane, back with us again, is Ray. How are you this evening, Ray?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Now, I have just said that obviously we are in a beautiful, picturesque part of Italy, and you know what? There's a squirrel sat right in front of the commentary box window. He's just sat there. He's like, yeah, I've come to watch the race, I'll get him for free.
I think he likes you, keeps looking at you.
He does keep looking at me. If he winks, I'm going to panic.
How do you know it's a he?
That is a good point. Okay, on to the action then for the Front Row Racing World Series drivers. It says in the corner over there, remaining dry with predominantly clear skies, but that could change for the race. There is always that possibility. And I don't know if you know this, I mentioned it to Kev. We have now we found out what the numbers are for on the track map.
You have?
Yes. The first number is the position, the driver's position, and the second number is the car number. Oh, so we've got P5, car 13, P3, car 7. That's what they are for. Rickster's retired from the session.
I'll give you a bit of information on Rickster, and this might help anyone that's listening in on the live feed as well. He was in one of the chat parties saying, did anybody yesterday do a one-stop race and how did it go?
Oh.
But there wasn't anybody that commented. Now, if he's thinking of doing the one-stop, maybe he's considering not qualifying to save that tyre wear.
Quite possibly.
So that's worth keeping an eye out for.
For him then, he's going to need to hope that it does not rain. Now, we have got a couple of drivers missing this evening that haven't let us know that they were not able to race. So they've not been able to get a reserve, but we do have two reserve drivers in. We've got Hybrid Nuke in again as a reserve. Fantastic outing last week. He's in the Lotus, and we've got Hindle back in as a reserve in the Toro Rosso for Arazzor, who's decided to swan off to the Big Apple for a week or two. Okay, quick run down the driver standings. We've got Conzo on 158 points, Killer Corkin, who we're on board with here, on 130 points, Arazzor on 122 points, but obviously he's not going to score any today. Then we've got Farfba on 119 points. Was phenomenal at the start of the season, tailed off a bit lately. Rickster on 115 points, but we already know he's going to be starting at the back of the grid. Then we've got Richie on 93, Jason on 68, Mybad on 53, who's not racing this evening. Adam 4600, he's on 37 points. Charlie is on 28 points, he's not racing this evening. Then we've got NW from our racing Nightwalker, or what was it you called him? Nightcrawler? Well, there was that one, I wasn't going to mention that one. And then we've got Andy Russell, who's back with us this evening on 6 points, and Moore Ryan on 0. He did do a couple of reserve drives, where obviously as a reserve you don't score points for yourself, you only score points for the team. He's been given a permanent drive, and then he got disconnected last week, and then this week he's not turned up for the race.
Okay, first time on the board we've got at the moment is for Hybrid Nuke with a 1:21.1.
That's not too bad a time, but I'm going to predict that the qualifying times for the World Series guys is going to be low 20s to mid 20s.
Maybe even a possible somebody into a 19 if they actually hook it up perfect lap.
Quite possibly. Now, as we've mentioned, hooking up a perfect lap, it's probably a good idea to mention at this point about the steward's guide. Now, if the drivers haven't seen the steward's guide, then potentially they are at a disadvantage this evening, because in the steward's guide there was some very interesting and important points. Certain parts on the circuit where the stewards are not going to be giving ETOs, and that is the exit of turn 6 and 7, which is the two Lesmos, but also what to do if a driver goes off at turn 4 and 5, and very important bits of information. Okay, on board with Andy Russell now. He's had a first sector of a 28.4, but I've just spotted that Hindle seems to be on a fairly quick lap, so we're going right on board with him through Ascari chicane. 27.3 sector 1, that's pretty good. 27.2 in sector 2, that's also not too bad. If he has a decent sector 3, he could be looking at mid to low 20s. Now I do know in practice he did get into the 19, so he has got the potential to stick it on pole here, but it's a 120.4 for his first lap.
That's not a bad lap time.
It's not. It looks like he may be going for a second one, but no, he's backed out. He's seen that there's a car exiting the pit lane, and that car's gone straight on, which is the right thing to do, but Hindle has already backed out.
I've got some interesting information for us this evening.
Go ahead.
Paul, known as Farfber, or Farfber known as Paul,
Yep.
he's got a pit crew member.
Oh, who's that then?
I don't know, so we're going to have to get Rachel Brooks to try and work out
Oh,
who that is.
who his race engineer is. Interesting. There was something I was going to say and I've completely forgotten it. And Andy Russell's gone a bit deep into turn 4 and 5. Now Andy's not been able to get online much lately, so he may struggle a little bit here. That's what I was going to talk about. It was tyres. As Nightwalker here was on the prime tyres and struggling a bit as well in turn 4 and 5. Obviously the commentary team yesterday were talking about what people might do in qualifying, where the fastest lap comes from. Now, Monza's a circuit where it's not overly aggressive on the tyres, is it? I mean, given the nature of the circuit, fast straight, couple of corners. So it's not overly aggressive on the tyres. But what that means is it can take a while for the tyres to warm up. So I know, for example, my plan was to do 2 timed laps back to back, because the first one's kind of your warm up, your banker. The second one is where you can really push it. Oh, Paul's struggling a bit through the Ascari chicane there, but he is on an out lap, so that's not going to make much difference. Now, do you think Paul's got a chance of getting it on pole here? I mean, he was fast early on in the season.
I don't see why not. I mean, with a line like that, he's going to have to be careful. Obviously.
Yeah.
But the drivers that are in this league, any one of them could be put in pole time.
Yeah. I mean, for example, Nightwalker, we know that this is one of the circuits where he is fast. Okay, so we're on board with Farfber then, as he heads into the Variante del Rettifilo. We'll just call it the Rettifilo, or chicane 1. Tricky little chicane there, and I kind of, in some ways, prefer the older versions of the circuit. Around Curva Grande, a number of different lines you can take around here as we head up to the Della Roggia chicane. They've got rid of the sausage curbs here, which I'm not overly pleased about. Oh, and Paul's off. He's off. He did have a little bit of a moment across the curb, but then he's gone off. He's not going to be going overly quick here. Then the 2 Lesmos, where the drivers are allowed to run wide, because that can happen. I mean, Paul didn't go wide there, but he did end up having a big tank slapper. That's not going to be a very good lap for him. So let's go and see who else we can find. Adam 4600. He's on an in lap by the looks of it. He's slowing down, currently sat in 4th place. Go on, Ray, I heard the microphone clicking.
Even though Rickster's retired, he's still going round the circuit.
Well, I've spotted that. It does look like his car is possibly going around the track, but I don't think he's actually left the garage. So it's a bit of an odd one there. He did it to GT5 King yesterday as well. So it'll be interesting to see if he does start with absolutely knackered tyres.
It makes me wonder that if he actually did go out on circuit and then retire.
Then retire. He might have done, he may have done.
He didn't put any sector times in, so maybe he's just done the out lap to hopefully put himself above the guys that aren't qualifying.
He has. Now it looks like we've got a few guys on in laps, on out laps, and I tell you what, that Squirrel, he's not sat in front of the commentary box anymore. I don't know where he's gone. Obviously gone to find one of the kebab or the burger stands it usually is here in Monza. Crofty talks about it quite a lot, that you can smell the burger from the burger van down below. Now, something to quickly mention as well, Richie Davey does have a qualifying ban for the race here. So he also will be starting at the back of the field with a brand new set of tyres. And for him, he will be hoping that he can get around without incident and make the most of the fresher tyre. But obviously if it rains, everybody is going to be on fresher tyres. They're just going to be wet ones. And I tell you what, Steve, I've got something rubbing against my leg.
Oh no.
And I don't know what... It's not you rubbing my leg, is it?
No.
Okay, I'm a bit fearful of looking down, to be honest, because I can definitely feel something rubbing my leg. So I think I'll just focus on watching Nightwalker for the moment as he's on his out lap. Okay, that rubbing is getting a little bit more ferocious.
Dave, I'm down here. Yeah, the squirrel. I want to join in on commentary.
What?
Who's that?
I think that squirrel has just started talking to me and asked if he can join in on commentary. I'm sorry, Mr Squirrel. I'm afraid you can't join in on the commentary because we might put Nightwalker off on his fastest lap.
I won't get in the way.
Well, you might not get in the way because you are quite small, but I'll tell you what, you go and just sit at the back of the commentary box and you tell us if they cook any more of those burgers. Okay, a little bit odd that. Maybe those mushrooms I got from the co-op earlier today were not normal mushrooms. Okay, so Nightwalker, we know that this is one of his circuits where he usually does quite well at. He can be quite quick around this track.
He could put in a decent lap time. I've just been a couple of messages coming through saying that some people are having problems with the live feed. So I'm thinking of just reducing what we're doing here.
Okay, no problem. In that case then, hopefully the drivers won't panic as Steve shuts off his system. So for Nightwalker then, I mean, I know on the last game, I mean, he was very, very quick around Monza. But it's one of those circuits where if your car, the rear end of the car sticks out a little bit too much like it looks like it is doing for him, it can be a very, very tricky circuit to drive around.
Not a great lap time there. I'm wondering whether he's just winding himself up to do a fast one.
A fat one.
A big fat one.
So it is possible that he was warming himself up, but it looks like he's now actually backed out of this next lap. He's got turn one all wrong there by the looks of things. Okay, Konzo, we've not ridden on board with him yet. Current championship leader. Sector 1 and Sector 2 are not very good, to be honest, but still 6 minutes left of the session, so it's possible that he was just getting his tyres warmed up. And it can make a big difference having that first lap to get the tyres warmed up.
We have to stream some drivers, people watching the stream said back up again. I shall leave mine off just on the off chance. And hope that everything goes fine from there.
Okay, no problem. So Konzo then, as I say, championship leader. He's won the last couple of races and he could really do with, ideally, starting somewhere higher than 5th. Pretty much every race he's raced in lately, he's started in 5th place. So as he heads up to the Della Roggia chicane, he's got a nice line through there. Dips a wheel in the gravel, but you can get away with that one.
A few tenths off in Sector 1, so he may get a very good Sector 2. He might be running a couple of extra aeros.
He does have a tendency to run with a slightly higher aerodynamic package.
He likes to have a good steady car.
He does. And he is in a Red Bull, so we don't expect it to top any of the speed traps. That's what I was looking for. I just had timing screens in my mind. That is a pretty good Sector 2. I'll tell you what it is, it's that squirrel. The squirrel's gone and put me off.
I think he's gone and crying away somewhere at the moment.
Hopefully not. Well, we'll have to see if we can cheer him up a little bit at some point. So Konzo coming round the final corner, about to cross the line. Is he?
Good time, yes.
It's 21.1. It puts him in 3rd place, so that's not a bad position to be in. Adam 4600 on an out lap. Andy Russell, he looks like he's struggling a little bit in Sector 1, but that's what a lack of practice can do for you. Rickster's car's still going around the circuit, and they're the only guys on the track. So while we're on board with Adam, we'll watch him go over the start-finish line.
Would you like some nuts?
Okay, the squirrel's back. No, actually, I'm all right for nuts. Do you want any nuts, Steve?
No, I've got a couple of nuts over here.
That's all right then.
Can I get some?
More for me.
Squirrel, Ray's asked if we can have some nuts, but we've just told him no, Ray. Also, we can't send him down the microphone. But yeah, obviously that Squirrel was quite talkative. He did say he wouldn't get in the way, and obviously he won't get in the way, but by the sounds of it, he's going to be quite talkative about this.
Connor's running a low setup. He's running Dom's setup from yesterday.
Oh, Adam 4600, all kinds of out of shape in the Della Roggia chicane.
Yeah, so Connor apparently is running a low setup. That's if he has taken Dom's setup on board.
That is true. But I mean, it's one of those things as well, though. I mean, I know, for example, I mean, myself, you, Kev, and a number of other people, it's not easy to take someone else's setup and get the maximum out of it because of people's different driving styles.
I mean, everybody is different. For instance, if I was to use the setup that Kev's using, I find the rear end very loose, but for some reason that helps Kev around the corners.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried Kev's setups, and you're right. I mean, I do find them quite oversteery, and I like a sort of a pointy car. But I'd struggle to drive with some of the Kev setups, but that's where different driving styles comes into it. Okay, so Andy Russell it's about a second off in each of the sectors, but as I mentioned, this is where a lack of perhaps practice will come into it. Is he going to improve? I mean, he's a second off in each of the sectors, but he is currently sat in 7th place, which isn't too bad really. But what the drivers need to make sure they don't do here is too many laps on their tyres in qualifying.
He's got a 4th quickest speed trap time at the moment, and he's stayed 7th with that time. As Hybrid Nuke just goes out to do an outlap, could we have a quick look at the leaderboard?
I was about to.
Yeah.
Hindle got current pole position by 7/10 of a second. It'd be interesting to see if he goes back out on track. 2 minutes left. There is enough time for the drivers to get round and get a lap in. I mean, Hybrid Nuke, could he close that gap on the lap time? He possibly could, yeah. But I mean, we've seen it in the previous events that that Hindle has taken part in. He does seem to be fairly quick. He has struggled with track limits on a couple of occasions, but a circuit like this at Monza, where there is a little bit of leniency in some of the corners, it can benefit some of the quicker drivers, but also benefit those that aren't as quick as well.
Yeah, I mean, on that, I mean, if you have watched the Steward's Guide, you can push the limits of the track right to the limit, where some drivers may not do that because you need to know what is acceptable and what's not.
I mean, that is very, very true. It's one of those things, you have to be able to push the car to the limit without going over the limit, so it's handy to know what the limits are. Okay, so Hybrid Nuke then setting himself up for another flying lap, and it doesn't look like Hindle is going to be heading out onto the circuit for one more flying lap. He obviously feels quite comfortable at the moment. So on board with Hybrid then, who had a fantastic event last week, pole and the win, as he heads up to the Rettifilio chicane. It looks like a bit of a lock-up, but that could just be visuals for us. Early on the power, but you do have to be in a straight line when you do it.
I used to like this circuit in the 90s, when that chicane actually used to go left and right, and then left and right again. I used to love that before.
Yeah, it was a good section of track. I preferred that to what we've got at the moment. Okay, through the Della Roggia chicane, using all of the curb there, which is good to see, and then into the Lesmos. And you were actually mentioning to me why they are called the Lesmos.
Yeah, they're named after a couple of brothers that used to race around here. I can't remember what cars they used to race in. It might have been the Alfa Romeos. Two brothers called the Lesmo brothers, and they were also known as Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, and they decided to name the corners after them. I don't remember their actual proper names though, unfortunately, and I tried to find out, and I can't find it on Google.
I was about to say, Hybrid's had a bit of a moment, and that's his lap over. Can Adam 4600 do anything else? I don't think he can. He's on an in lap. Okay, so have we got anybody else out on track? I think Konzo, Konzo's going for one more flying lap by the looks of it. So as he heads up to the second chicane, but he's going off, he's into the gravel, and he's all out of shape. That'll be his lap over.
I don't think he's going to be gaining any time on his lap from that mistake there.
I don't either.
Looks like he may have already backed out of it.
Now Killer Corkin's heading up to the Parabolica, and it looks like he is pushing it, so he's trying to gain himself some extra positions. I mean, in the standings, he's currently second. He needs to beat Konzo here. He needs to beat everybody else, but no, he's heading into the pits. Okay, so session over. Now, Kev 187 obviously got pole position yesterday with a 119.7, and it looks like Hindle has got it to today with a 120. And I was quite impressed with Kev's lap time yesterday, although he was 5-6 tenths off his actual PB. But I was quite surprised about that one. Oh, hang on, the squirrel's got his hand up. I wonder what we could do for you. Have you finished eating your nuts?
I like Kev. I've watched some of his videos. I don't think I can do an impression of him.
I tell you what, for a squirrel, that's a bloody good impression of Kev. Now, if you've never watched any of Kev's videos, laughing. If you've never watched any of Kev's videos, you really should, because then you'll get what the squirrel's on about there. That's pretty fantastic. I tell you what, this squirrel's got a sense of humour. Okay, so we never predicted who may get pole position.
Apparently, Paul is running Kev's setup.
Ooh. See, now that might be why Paul was perhaps struggling a little bit, finding it a little bit oversteery. Maybe Kev is Paul's engineer for this evening. But we've got Hindle on pole position with a 120.8, 7 tenths clear of Hybrid Nuke in second, who will be disappointed with his lap time there. He knows he can go a lot faster. Conzo in third, Killer Corkin fourth, Farfba fifth, Adam 4600 sixth, Andy Russell seventh, Nightwalker eighth, Richie Davey 10th, Jason 11th, sorry, Rickster 10th, Richie 9th, Rickster 10th, Jason in 11th, and then we've got us admins at the bottom of the screen. Now it'll be interesting to try and watch Richie and Rickster come through the field here. They're going to have to be careful because some of the drivers ahead of them may be a little bit slower than they'd really like them to be.
Yes, I mean, as they're coming from that position, you've got a few drivers like the Adam 4600, you've got Nightwalker that might just be that extra little bit cautious going into turn one. And I don't blame them. I mean, I would be cautious going into turn one because it does start to build up and you end up almost being stationary into that first turn.
I mean, we worked it out. For turn one, if you're on the... Oh, it's nice and sunny weather for the drivers. Yeah, turn one, at the start of the race, if you're on the front row of the grid, you can brake at about 100 metres. Normal qualifying or race, it's about 130. But at the start of the race, for the front row, they can brake at about 100 metres. Everybody else behind them has got to brake a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier. And if they don't, we will be seeing a pile-up.
I was on 8th position yesterday, and I had to brake before the 150.
Yeah.
I think it was Liam that was in front of me. He broke at just about the 150 mark. He left himself a bit of a gap ahead of him, and it was just a matter of everyone being a little bit cautious, and it was actually quite clean through there.
Yeah.
I decided though to take decisive action and avoid any collisions, and I cut the first corner, backed out of it, made sure I gave any positions back. And it was much better for me to do that. Okay,
quick look at the strategy then. This is the recommended strategy from the game, saying a 2-stop. Will we see any 1-stops? Will we see 2 or 3 stops? Will we see any wet weather come in? We've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away they go. We're going to give them a slight moment, and then we're going to retire and get a decent camera view if we can.
Can Richie keep his front wing at turn 1?
Now Hindle's got a good gap at the start, and it's all getting a bit busy. 2 Ferraris side by side, and I think a Sauber taking evasive, and
He's up to second.
Richie Davey is up to 6th.
Wow.
Now that's a fairly decent start from him, but he is on fresher tyres as well, as Paul and a Lotus of, I think that'll be Hybrid Nuke, go side by side into turn 4. Tricky chicane to go side by side there, but it can be done as they file into single file and get ready for the Lesmos. Paul having a little wiggle there, but these guys battling is just, Paul's going to be slow. Hybrid's going to have to be careful, and everybody else is going to be following them. But this is going to allow Hindle, I'm going to get Hindle and Hybrid mixed up so many times, to pull away. This could get very interesting into the Ascari chicane. There's contact. There was contact between the Williams, and Paul's dropped down the field.
In the gravel.
Along with Killer Corkin and Andy Russell, who's trying to mate his Ferrari with a wall by the looks of it. Now Killer and Paul still battling it out. Andy Russell has got no option but to pit now. That has put Richie Davey in 3rd place.
Wow. It's about time. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. Now it's not letting me ride on board with Conzo, so let's ride on board with Rickster as he's about to be overtaken by Conzo, heading down into turn 1 at the start of lap 2. Side by side, could they get any closer together? I bet they could, but Rickster just manages to stay ahead.
And that's how you do it.
That is how you do it. Nice and clean side by side through there. And I've just spotted in the background Paul and Killer Corkin trying to do a similar thing. I mean, I didn't see exactly what happened with those two, but there was definitely contact. They both definitely ended up in the gravel, and they're both now down in the position that Richie Davey was in at the start of this race. What a start by Richie. I mean, for Andy Russell there, that's massively disappointing for him. I mean, have you got anything to say on that one?
I mean, it's unfortunate because he's missed a few races, and for him, he just wants a solid drive. And how unfortunate that he's now in that position.
Oh, Night Walker's all out of shape. I think the Squirrel might have something to say about the Ferrari crash there.
He's not going to be happy about that one. He's lost it and he's into the wall.
Well, you're not wrong about that one. Okay, so let's go and catch up with what's happening up the front of the field. Hindle, because of what's happened, he's just been left all on his own to go and drive out in front. I think Hybrid's under pressure from Richie Davey. He is. So Richie Davey, within the first 3 laps, is going to get himself up into second place. And there's a battle going on behind as well between a McLaren and another car. It's Rickster and Conzo still going at it. I thought Rickster was going a little bit deep then. Wow, it's definitely been busy in these opening laps as Rickster's all out of shape coming out of the first chicane. And in the background again there's Paul and Killer Cork, and in a way I daren't go and watch them. All side by side for Hybrid and Richie.
If you were Hindle in this position where you've got that gap already, what do you do? Turn your engine up and build the gap, turn your engine down, save your fuel?
Well, when I was in this situation yesterday, I wouldn't say I turned my engine down, I just never turned my engine up. Because you can save fuel around this circuit quite comfortably if you don't use the rich mode. So for me it was like, okay, I'll run on lean and standard and see if I can manage the gap and save some fuel. It worked very, very well for me because I was able to pull out the... Oh, Rich is well wide there. That was so wide.
He was off to see Ray's Ma.
He was off to see Ray's Ma. But that means that Hybrid can look at attacking him.
More.
It's more. Ray says it's Ray's more, not Ma. Or Hybrid's wide around the final corner. Going to have to be careful about that one. But we can see the gap that Hindle has got in the first few laps. But Hybrid's going to have DRS here. Richie with his usual defensive line. Let's hope they can keep it clean. They have done so far. He has got the move done. Richie's not going to give it up easy though. But when you're on that defensive line through the first chicane, it's difficult to get good traction out of it.
Just let Ray know that his Ma told me that she's okay with me calling her Ma. She likes it.
I'm not going to get involved in that one. I'm not your messengers. We'll move on from that one. Otherwise, the Squirrel will probably have something to say on it as well. At the moment, he's munching on some nuts.
All I'm going to say is I've been off to see Ray's Ma quite a few times.
Oh dear. Oh yeah. Let's. Oh, Lotus. Lotus. That is deep.
Ah,
now there's a driver that obviously has not seen the steward's guide. Oh, come on, let me ride on board with Paul, because Paul and Killer Corkin's got ahead of Paul. I think Paul may be struggling a little bit, and this is a stage of the race he's going wide. 4 laps in, the option tyres should last till lap 8, lap 9, but if you've done quite a few of them, a few laps in qualifying, they're going to struggle. And also, if you've had a couple of offs into the gravel, they're going to struggle as well.
They are, and just as you were changing view there, I noticed Paul may have turned in just a touch early on that corner.
Well, I wasn't looking at that one, but I'm sure the race directors will have a look after the race. So Hybrid Nuke then, I think he might be pulling out that gap. Oh, hang on. So
oh no, it's left.
Paul's gave up.
There's a retirement then for the Williams driver of Paul. It's not gone well for him. Didn't go well from those first couple of laps where he ended up in the gravel. Richie Davey though still battling with Hybrid Nuke side by side into the Della Roggia chicane as Hybrid Nuke gets into second place. And these two battling a little bit. It's allowing Rickster to close up, and Conzo is joining in on the party as well. This could get interesting. Richie's going to have DRS as they come around the second Lesmo.
Is he going to be able to make the move? He's got the DRS.
He's looking for it. He's looking up the inside.
It's a place where you can make a move.
Now is he going to be able to...
He's got his car in the right position, that's for sure.
That's a lovely overtake done, and that is a nice overtake. Oh, Hybrid Nuke, he's off. He's
the wing.
He's onto the curb, into the wall. Oh my goodness me, for Hybrid Nuke, that's not gone well at all. But for Richie Davey, he's going to be thinking. He actually did ask last week. He says, "What's a driver got to do to get driver of the day?" And I said, "Don't lose your front wing." So 5 laps in, he'll be thinking, well, I've not lost my front wing yet. It's got to be on. I've come from the back of the grid. But having said that, Rickster also came from the back of the grid, and he's right behind Richie Davey. So these two have come from the back of the grid. They're now in 2nd and 3rd.
It just goes to show what can happen when you've got that fresh rubber from the back.
It does make a huge difference, because it's not just like 1 lap's worth of extra rubber on the tyres. It's 3, 4 or possibly even 5 laps worth. Okay, so I thought that was on the main straight then, going for a DRS overtake, but I was wrong. They're heading up to the Della Roggia chicane, and it does look like Rickster is closing in on Richie Davey here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for these two throughout the race. Richie Davey is all out of shape. Oh,
he's determined to lose this front wheel.
Well, I think he's actually tried his hardest not to. But that's put Rickster right in line for a potential overtake. In a way, given how far back he was there, it'd have been a risky one to go for. But he can now... This is where slipstream down this straight with your engine on lean. Just save a bit of fuel, get that DRS and turn your engine up and go for the move into turn 1. Now obviously with Steve leaving the session earlier on, we can't get a view from 2 monitors, which is a bit of a shame, because it means we can't sort of keep an eye on what's going on around. Hindle, I think, is in the pits.
He must be, because hang on,
Yep.
Davies in first.
Yep.
Yeah, it's his prime tyres.
Round about the okay time. I mean, it's probably 1 lap early.
I would say it is probably 1 lap early, but Ray has just mentioned he has gone on to the prime tyres, so he'll probably looking at doing 10 laps. That'll take him to 17, and then he got 10 laps on the options. It could work for him.
I mean, he's got that gap.
He's came right out behind Killer Cobb. So traffic.
I mean, Rich Davey now, first place. Okay, we've had somebody make a pit stop, but from the back to first, brilliant.
He'll be happy enough about that one. And now we've got a situation where Killer Corkin, 2nd place in the standings, has his reserve teammate behind him on fresh rubber. And does he make that call of just letting him go? Because he's going to be in the DRS and is potentially in position to score 25 points for the team.
True, and also what you've got to remember is...
No, actually, sorry,
it's not the same
is
thing.
Red Bull and Toro Rosso. Yeah, Killer Corkin's not going to want to let him through then.
He's not at all.
So
I mean, it's interesting because you've now got Killer on worn options, Hindle on new primes, so their delta times are going to be not too far off.
they won't be too far off, but Hindle may have been held up a little bit here with Killer Corkin. And obviously traffic around this circuit can be a little bit awkward. I wonder if we've got any of the current leaders in the pits. I don't think we will. Richie Davey and Rickster. Oh, Richie's all off the circuit at turn 1. I think he's about to lose a position though, as Rickster is
takes the lead.
taking the lead. Yes, he has, but Richie's not going to give it up around the Curva Grande. He may not have a choice though. Is he going to attack into the Della Roggia?
I was just trying to figure out if he's going to go inside or outside.
Crisscross are going to make you. No, that's going back some years. Oh, Richie! Oh no! Oh! That was Rickster, got a little bit out of shape, looked like a little bit of contact, and Richie Davey in full-on recovery mode there and avoid the barrier.
Hybrid Newts just put fastest lap in with a 1:22. That's not a bad lap time for this stage of the race.
It is a pretty good lap time, and obviously he has got the fresher rubber on now. But for Richie and Rickster and the new.
Yes, he went off and lost the wing at the Sky.
Oh, Hybrid Nuke, yes, sorry, I thought it was Hindle, my mistake, yes, Hybrid Nuke, so yeah, I mean, where is he going to end up, nobody knows. Oh, nice slide coming out of the corner there by Konzo, I think it is. But I think for Rickster and Richie, I think they're going to be looking at going lap 8, lap 9, possibly even see if they can get to 10.
I've got a feeling that Rickster is going to go 12.
I've got a feeling Richie Davies in the pits now. There you go, he is, he's in the pits now. And so's Konzo.
That was a late decision to go in. I think he's decided to cover what Richie's doing to make sure Richie doesn't get the undercut on him. But yeah, if Rickster's going to be going for a one-stop race, which is possible, I have tested the tyres, it could take them to lap 12. I do know they pop on lap 13.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that one. So, okay, so Hindle looks like he is going to stay ahead of Richie Davey, who is just exiting the pits now with Konzo behind him. Where is Hybrid Nuke? Hybrid Nuke is way down at the moment in 8th place, just coming around the Parabolica. But he's on option tyres. There's a half a chance he may have to do another stop. Maybe even 2. He's got to take these options as long as he possibly can.
Well, he's in a similar situation now to what Kev was yesterday. with his pit stops, because Kev ended up losing his front wing and went for another set of options, didn't he?
Yes.
And then did the primes for his last stint. So it could take these options now long enough to then run the primes. I mean, if you think about Rickster's going to try and do the one stop. We think Rickster's going to do the one stop. So all we need is Hybrid Newt to get past lap 12, and he can make that strategy kind of work. Apart from the time he's lost, obviously, from being without a wing.
That is true. Okay, so is Rickster going to try and cover off the Ferrari of Richie Davey, or is he going to keep going? He's into the pits.
Into the pits.
Oh,
That's quite. I mean, that's surprising to me, because lap 9 is kind of like a nowhere lap.
Yeah.
It's not a one stop and it's not a two stop.
But
lap.
look who's still circulating on a set of option tyres. It's Jason.
He's going for a one stop, and I'll tell you why I know he's going for a one stop.
Because he did it yesterday.
He did it yesterday.
In that case then, Jason probably is going for a one stop. It'll be interesting to see where that brings him out. But at the moment, he's got Hindle closing in on him. Obviously, Jason's on 10-lap-old option tyres, whereas Hindle is on a couple of lap-old...
in the first corner.
I've just been told it's going to be close to the first corner with Rickster and Richie Davey. Rickster's struggling with those cold tyres out of the pit lane.
They are awful when they are cold.
And he's lost that position, so Richie Davey gets ahead up into third. His tyres are a little bit warmer. I've not actually looked at what tyres Richie is on. That's okay, primes. So they're both on the prime tyres then.
See, I'm quite surprised now that Rickster decided to pit on that lap. I mean, I've said it already, but lap 9 is kind of like a nowhere lap. If you're going to do a two-stop, you should be pitting, in my opinion, before lap 9.
Yeah.
If you're going to...
Well, I suppose he did have... Oh, a bit too much curb there. He did have the fresher tyres, so going to lap 9 was an easy option. I mean, obviously, if you've qualified on your tyres, yeah, 8's about your limit. But so...
maybe he's planning on doing 9, maybe 10 laps on both sets of the option tyres, so he may pit again lap 17 and do a short stint on.
Oh, that got close then as Rickster... Richie will have no problem letting Rickster overtake him here because he's just been given the DRS. Now, I did it yesterday to Stocky. He looked like he was going to overtake, so I just lifted a little early, made sure I got the DRS and drove back past him. And that looks like that's exactly what Richie Davies going to try and do. He's not catching very quick, though. Rickster's gone very defensive.
It was fair. It was fair. Richie wasn't up alongside, so where he put his car was okay.
And both need a good exit here, which they have got. Now, this is a situation where for Richie Davey, he could go for a bit of a gamble overtake, but if he does and he ends up with no wing, it's not worth the gamble.
But also, when you're following a car this closely, your engine temperature gets very hot. And I got the message again yesterday.
Did you?
Saying I got engine damage and my power output will be reduced.
That's interesting, that is.
And also, I think Stocky mentioned it, that he had the same.
Oh.
So I don't know what it is with the way I'm driving the car,
yeah.
but there's something I'm doing which overheats the engine, and it's not because necessarily I was up behind the cars too much.
No. I mean, there is a number of different ways you can overheat it, and obviously running in rich too aggressively is one of them. The way you change your gears is another way, whether it's too aggressive downshifts or taking the revs too high in the upshifts. But Richie is up alongside, heading down to the Parabolica. I've got a feeling Richie's going to brake early. No, he's not. So Rickster's going to sacrifice the corner for DRS then. Richie, I used to hate saying these two when they were racing each other. Richie and Rickster. Bob and Bob, as we got calling them last season. Yeah, so Rickster sacrifices the corner for DRS now as they head into turn 1 again. And Conzo in the background's not really catching up on these two as they're fighting, but a little too much curb there.
It's unsettled the car a little bit. I think we need to start calling Rich Davey just Davey. It might make things easier.
Might be. Okay, Killer Corkin up into 6th.
Is Jason still running in 2nd place?
I think he must be, you know, because Killer Corkin's down in 6th. So Richie and Rickster are battling between themselves, but it's actually not for 2nd place at the moment. Jason's in 2nd place behind Hindle.
Because he's not had any pressure on him, he's able to keep the constant lap times going.
Oh, so Hindle's lagging. Hindle's car has stopped and Jason's had to avoid him. I've got to
says Jason's
it's
in
a 2nd
place
and Hindle's down the road. Oh dear. Okay, that could be a problem. Jason has obviously had to take avoiding action there. And it's not nice when you're behind a car that is lagging a lot. So is Jason going to be pitting? I've got a feeling he'll be pitting this lap, you know, if he goes on what you said is a possibility. No, he's going to continue on. And we've still got Richie and Rickster battling out for what is at the moment 3rd and 4th. Have we got anything else going on? Everyone else is quite spread out at the moment, but that means that they can just work on being consistent. Look after their tyres, manage their fuel, put in the lap times. But I'm surprised that Konzo isn't really catching up with these guys at the moment, unless he's just pacing himself as they go side by side into turn 1.
He's probably sitting there thinking, these two battling ahead of me are going to have an accident in a minute. I might as well just take my time, turn it down, wait for them to have an incident.
Also, if he looks after his tyres and can get to about lap 17, obviously I would guess that quite a few of these drivers are potentially going to go for the options again at the end of the race. But if these two don't and Konzo does, it potentially gives him a big advantage. But it is a fantastic battle going on between these two. It's a shame that we've lost Paul out of this fight. Oh, side by side into the Lesmos and Rick. Oh, there we go. Oh, no, they're both into the barrier. And there's Richie Davies from wing on. He's not going to be overly pleased about that one.
But with Rickster, he's still got his wing, but I don't know if he lost any of it at all.
I think he may have lost some of it. Yeah, the right
He's
front.
lost the end plate.
Right front end plate.
It's gone.
I tell you what, that's going to help out Jason. And you mentioned it, you commentator cursing swine. Konzo just waiting for these two to have a crash and take full advantage, which is about to do so. But Richie Davies now got no choice but to pit. And I think Rickster's in a similar boat because he's struggling to keep the car on the track. And that's Konzo up into 3rd place.
Rickster's able to get to the pits way before Rich Davies.
Now Jason has pitted and he's going to come out ahead of Richie and Rickster, but not Konzo.
Now this is, for Rickster now, he's right in no man's land again with his pit stop.
Yep.
What does he do?
Options won't get to the end.
Well, they will, because Jason's going to do it.
No, he's on primes.
So,
options.
Primes.
Okay, Jason has done 13 laps on the option tyres.
But, yeah, Rickster could go. He started on the options, did a short prime. He could do prime again.
Rickster's gone options.
So he's
Richie
probably gonna
Davey,
go
options.
2 option stints from here.
And Hybrid Nuke is right behind him on the prime
So
tyre.
does that put Jason in first?
No, Hindle's in first.
Hindle, yes, sorry, I forgot about Hindle.
So yeah, Hindle, I mean, he's had an eventless race. He just drive off into the distance, nice and easy for him.
I'm not seeing much of Hindle.
Oh, Nightwalker's got a puncture.
How's he got that?
On a set of prime tyres that he can't have been on for very long, unless he was on them from the start of the race. But he's now taking avoiding action, knowing that there's a few guys around him on the circuit. That's unfortunate for Nightwalker.
Because he started on the options, so he can't have pitted that long ago for the primes. And I'm wondering if any of that debris that was caused from Rich Davies' incident may have...
Quite possibly, because that was just after. I mean, we went on board and his puncture was there. But Killer Corkin now up to 3rd place. My goodness me. So Richie and Rickster having a crash between each other has just gone and helped out the 2 current championship leaders help themselves to more points effectively. Although Killer Corkin's nicely sideways out of turn 2.
Got a bit of insider information from one of the pit members.
Go ahead.
We've got Jeff and Connor, both are going to pit on lap 18 for options to fend off Richie and Ricky. I don't think there's any need to.
I don't think they'll need to. I think Richie and Rickster, they're going to be in their own little battle, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are near each other on track. They're not too far apart. They're pulling away from Hybrid Nuke, but he is on the prime tyres. I'm not so sure that these options, because they're going to push these options hard now.
I think the way we saw those two driving so close together for so many laps, I think it was almost inevitable. And in a way, it would have been better for one of those drivers just to take a breather for a few laps, take a few laps off pace, just to be calm, save a bit of fuel, and push at the right time when they got the car pitted.
Yep. Okay, Andy Russell has pitted then for a set of prime tyres. They will take him to the end of the race. Nightwalker has pitted. He's got a set of options on. I mean, to get a set of options 13, 14 laps to the end of the race,
you're pushing them past the limit, to be honest.
Well, you are. I mean, you need a particular type of driving style. Apologies for the dodgy camera here. You do need a particular type of driving style, a style that, for example, Jason does have. Smooth,
He has
clean.
shown at Monaco.
Yep, showed at Monaco. He's showing it here as well. He's a lot like Duofin in that respect. May not be the fastest of drivers, but is able to take tyres a long way. I can hear Ray's microphone clicking. Either that or the squirrel that sat in the corner is clicking his fingers. Go ahead, Ray.
We're back now.
Sorry, it broke up then.
Look, two drivers are back together now.
Okay. I heard a part of that, which is some drivers are back together now. I'm guessing it's going to be Richie Davey. No, it's not Richie and Rickster.
Yes, it is. They're close.
They're not that well. They're kind of close, not overly close, not close enough for a battle. I mean, the field has got quite spread out at the moment, so it's almost like we're in a bit of a lull in the middle of the race.
But I think the next lot of pit stops is just going to put everybody back together again. Apart from maybe Hindle, who's going to be near enough finish by that point.
If we do get any more pit stops, that is. But I've got a feeling we're going to be seeing pit stops for punctures. I'll tell you what, it looks like Richie is really pushing hard. And I can see that squirrel moving. I've mentioned there's a bit of a lull in the race, and he looks like he's trying to... okay, he's coming over to... I'm guessing he's going to say something to me. You want to sing a song? Not really, because we're about to have what looks like Richie Davey overtaking Rickster into turn one. No, he's not quite close enough. He's closing in the braking zone, though. That got really, really close. I can't believe talking squirrel that wants to sing a song. You having a laugh? Okay, so Richie Davey, he's definitely gaining. He is pushing hard now. It could be as well that Rickster is having to save fuel. You never do know for sure. But Richie chucked it up the inside, but he can't quite make that move. I think he kind of had to take evasive there.
He pulled out of the move, I think, at that point. He realised that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, it definitely looked a little bit like that. Okay, the squirrel can sing. Okay, where on earth does a squirrel learn how to sing Queen? That's impressive. You know what? You can have all the nuts you like.
Sign up for the X Factor.
Oh yeah, Britain's Got Talent.
The Minions crew is changing strategy.
Oh, the Minions crew is changing strategy according to Ray. So some information telling us that potentially the Red Bulls could be on for
Jeff
a different
Connor
strategy. Okay, apparently Jeff and Connor are too close to both pit on the same lap, and I tell you what, Killer Corkin's tyres look absolutely diabolical, which isn't surprising given the amount of laps he has done on these set of tyres. That right front doesn't look good, but it's actually the left front which takes more punishment around this circuit, and we can see the discoloration on it. Now, I can't ride on board with Conzo, which is a little bit frustrating because I can't see when he is going to be pitting, but I would guess with him being the lead car on the circuit and the lead car in the championship, he'll get first call of when to pit. Oh no, Killer Corkin is into the pits.
So what tyres would he be going on at this point? Surely you can take the options to the end at this point.
Options to the end quite comfortably at this point now. Yep, it does look like it's going to be the option tyres. Now he's going to potentially have a chance of an undercut, but he's going to come out essentially next to the Richie Davey Rickster battle, which is kind of still going on. No, Killer Cork, he's had a moment. Is he?
How did he do that? That seemed like the wall on the right hand side as he was coming out.
It almost looked like he had a big tank slapper. It doesn't look like he's had any damage, and luckily at the pit exit at Monza it does go quite wide, so you can have a bit of a tank slapper and get away with it. Adam 4600, we've not ridden on board with him much, I'm afraid. Sat in 8th place at the moment, having a bit of a quiet race all on his own. I better not say that, otherwise the squirrel will start singing, oh, bye, bye. Yeah, you know the one. Okay, behind Andy is Andy. It's not Andy and Andy, it's Adam and Andy. Adam and Andy. So, I mean, Andy lost his front wing early on in the race, and that just put him right on the back foot. Nightwalker, obviously we saw that he had a puncture, so that made him struggle, and he's got to take these option tyres quite some distance. Hindle, though, currently with an enormous lead. I can't see exactly how big the lead is because it won't let me ride on board with Konzo. I think if that's Konzo in the background, it's pretty much the whole... Oh, Konzo is in the pits. So Rickster now up to second place, which means Richie Davey is up to third place. And Hybrid Nuke is up to fourth place. Killer Corkin currently sat seventh place technically, but is he going to gain over Konzo? And that's the one that's going to count. Now for Killer and Konzo, yes, they're behind Richie and Rickster, but they've got fresher tyres, much fresher tyres. And Konzo is out ahead of Hybrid Nuke. So the gap between Killer and Konzo is quite big at the moment. Now for Hybrid Nuke, he's in an interesting situation here. He's been on the prime tyres for a while. The cars ahead, their options may go off, apart from Konzo, who's just put them on. And he's got Killer behind him who's going to be catching. So he just needs to play it carefully. Killer may overtake him, but he may overtake Richie and Rickster.
Yes, and just in those last couple of laps, his tyres will be going off, but they won't be going off as much as the options will be.
That is very, very true.
Just need to point something out. I was searching the internet this week for some information on Monza.
Oh no, you'd forgot it last week.
I did forget it last week, but this week I was searching Monza, and all I could keep finding about Monza was sexy grid girls.
Right, okay.
And I found this one.
Okay, yeah, she is quite nice, isn't she? It's not actually a man, is it?
No.
No, okay, that's a nice one. I'm surprised.
That's not bad at all, is it?
No, that is quite nice.
Sorry, I once I saw that, I thought,
Richie's in the pits.
Richie Davey is in the pits apparently, and I think the squirrel has just squeezing his nuts and held him a bit close after looking at that picture.
I'll tell you what though, we've not mentioned Jason for the last few minutes. He's looking good.
He's
looking good.
On a one stop in second place. Where's Richie? I know Ray said he's in the pits. He is in the pits. He's gone for another set of options. Down in seventh. He's obviously seen what Killer and Konzo have done. He's taking that gamble. Perhaps get a bit of clean air, fire some faster laps in. I mean, if Jason can hold position, that'd be fantastic. Currently 14 seconds behind the leader.
But also, I mean, if you jump to third place, how far behind is Rickster from Jason?
7 seconds.
7 seconds. And theoretically, Rickster should be able to make that 7 seconds up with the tyres that he's on.
Possibly, but obviously he's going to have been on them for quite some time. Now, Konzo I can't ride on board with, but Hybrid Nuke I can. He's still there or thereabouts with Konzo. It's a real shame that I can't ride on board with Konzo because I can't tell at the moment whether he's catching Rickster up. It looks like he is. I've got a feeling this is going to get... You just realised you're wearing a headset that you don't need to wear.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where this race could potentially compress together for the last few laps. Now, we've not been able to ride on board with Hindle much, which is a bit of a shame because I would like to actually ride on, not ride him. That would have been there's a commentary speaking error. Now, Rickster's lost a second on Hindle, but has he lost that second on Jason as well?
Theoretically, he should have gained 2 seconds on Jason.
He has. Well, he's gained a second on Jason. Jason's dropped a second or 2 off the back of Hindle. So while they're sorting themselves out, let's ride on board with Hindle for a moment, because I'm sure Ray will let us know if anyone gets close together. I mean, obviously we've not been able to ride on board with him or see how he's getting on or anything like that. But obviously you're aware of the reserve driver situation that he's been in, he's found himself in, with Hybrid Nuke as well. I mean, how will you think he'll be feeling about the race so far today?
I think if for Hindle, surely he's going to be sat there thinking, keep it clean, show them how it's done, show them how I can do it.
Yeah. And
that's what he needs to do. In the messages that we've seen from him, you know, he's obviously felt a bit guilty about his previous attempt to reserve driving, because obviously he got his disqualification, unfortunately, because of too many ETLs. But I mean, from what we've seen of him so far in this race, he's doing what he needs to do. He's got the pace. He's keeping it clean. In a way, I just feel it's a bit of a shame that some of the other drivers had a bit of a coming together and couldn't put him under any more pressure.
Definitely. I mean, this is a situation as well where, as a driver, I mean, in the World Championship, the drivers have to record their races now. It is part of racing in the World Championship. And I don't think it'll be too long, like in perhaps the next season or the season after, where it'll be same for the World Series drivers, where it will be an entry requirement to record their races. But if I was a World Series driver, say for example in Hindle's situation, I'd be recording my races and putting it out there on the page to say, look, okay, like I've done nothing wrong, it's all clean, blah blah blah. Got nothing to hide. There you go. Now I've heard Ray's microphone clicking, so what have you spotted, Ray?
Conzo's up with Rickster, sorry.
Yes, he is. Now, Jason has dropped off another couple of seconds from the back of the leader, Hindle. But if these two get battling, it's only going to help Jason's cause. We can see him in the distance. He's going to start worrying about these cars that are catching him up a little bit.
The thing is, these two actually, even though they're not in the same team, they could actually help each other by benefiting using the DRS.
I've just seen a Sauber have a massive off in the background. It's Nightwalker. He's still going though, so let's quickly get.
That he went on to. Is he going to try and stretch them out? Surely if he was going to pit now would be the right time.
If he was going to have to make another stop, yeah, you don't want to be pitting any later than now. Okay, Conzo then up the inside into turn one. Little bit of smoky tyres, but gets the move made. He is on the fresher option tyre as well. Now,
David, fastest lap, and that's not a bad lap time for this stage of the race.
Not at all, but he is quite far back off the battle that's going on up ahead. Now, this is where Jason could have done with Rickster holding up Conzo a little bit more. If Rickster can actually battle him heading up into the second, not the second, but into the Ascari chicane, it could help Jason. Now, the Ferrari we can see in the background, that isn't Richie Davey, that's Andy Russell.
He's having quite a good solid race at the moment, Andy Russell.
He's done well since having the accident. Obviously, he's not in position on track at the moment there.
It looks like he's been doing okay.
Yep. Only the two front wings needed in the Ferrari garage during this race. Rickster! Oh!
That's a big moment.
That, as Crofty would say, that's a beautiful drift. It's not fast, but it looks good.
It's one of those that you get points for on a computer game.
Yeah. Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. But that may just make Rickster think, oh dear, are these tyres going to last? Because he's about to be unlapped by Andy Russell.
I'm just wondering if he looked in his mirror, saw a Ferrari and thought, he's that close to me.
Quite possibly, he may have done. But this is a situation where for Andy Russell, he'd want to overtake and go past, but really, it's one of those situations where don't get in the fight. If he has an off on his own, just, then go.
They're both going to be on similar set of tyres at the moment. Obviously, they're both options. And here we go, Andy Russell's actually getting blue flags to the car behind him. He's got no option other than to let Killer go, even though he had the pace on the car in front.
Now, Killer Corkin, like Conzo, has the fresher option tyres than Rickster. So Rickster, who looks like he's starting to struggle, he's done about 9-10 laps on his option tyres, so he is going to struggle now. So Killer Corkin may find himself moving up to 4th place in a matter of moments. Now, I am curious as to whether Jason is being caught by Conzo. He must be, but I can't ride on board with Conzo. But Jason currently sitting 2nd place.
He's 23 seconds behind the leader.
And there's Conzo.
And how far? You can't drive, you say you can't go on board?
Can't ride on board, but that's probably a couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds. So I don't think it'll be long until Conzo does move up.
Perhaps to go.
I mean, that is true. I mean, we're going to have to start thinking about potential driver of the day as well. And, well, I mean, it would be an interesting one to pick. It looks like Killer Corkin is in position to attack Rickster. And this is where perhaps Richie Davey, making that pit stop earlier, realising the tyres might not last as Killer Corkin gets the move done through turn 1 and 2. Rickster onto the gravel. Yeah, Richie Davey making that pit stop a little earlier on could benefit him. He's only just coming through turn 1 and 2, but if Rickster's tyres go off massively or gets a puncture in this last lap and a half, Richie could gain an additional position.
Yeah, I think at this point Richie's probably just kicking himself a little bit that he got too close to Rickster earlier on.
Yeah.
It is a shame that it's happened to him again, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm trying to sort of recall the incident, and it was almost as if Richie squoze Rickster at the apex of the second Lesmo, which then caused the cars to be very, very close to each other on the exit.
I thought I just saw Nightwalk around the primes then, but it's not, it's still on options.
Okay, so the car's getting a little spread out now, except for Konzo closing in. He is. He's going to have one more lap. Yep.
And how far up the road is Hindle? It's 22 seconds up the road from Jason. We've not got long before these two are going to be right up on top of each other.
No, that is true. The tricky part for Konzo is where, if he gets close enough to get past, where does he do it? If he goes for a move into the Ascari chicanes, it can be done, but it can be risky. Does he wait until after the Ascari chicanes, but potentially gift Jason the DRS on the exit?
For me, if Jason's tyres are right on that limit now, because he's been on them for so many laps, you've got to benefit, surely, out of Sector 2. Going into Sector 3.
Yeah, I'd agree. He's got the extra speed through these Lesmos at the moment, so ideally he needs to get the move done here.
It could be this DRS here or out of Ascari.
I think he'll have the move quite easily done. I don't think Jason will fight it too hard. He knows his tyres are suffering, and he'll be happy with a third place if that's where he finishes. So Konzo then up into second place, and we can't be far away. I was about to go on board with him.
Well done, Hindle.
Yeah, well done, Hindle, taking the victory here in Monza. I was just about to go on board with him as well. Okay, so barring any unfortunate incident in the final corner, Konzo, current standings leader, is going to take second place with a fantastic drive by Jason on a one-stop, taking third place. Killer Corkin will come through in fourth place, recovering from his collision early on. And Richie Davey has just gone past Rickster.
He's going slow.
He's got a puncture.
How many races is that this season? Is that the third one?
It could be. He's lost another place. Oh, Rickster.
He always has been harsh on his tyre. Always. Every season.
Now, I mentioned it on lap 26 that Richie may have made the right call doing that extra stop.
And it just goes to show, doesn't it?
And you can tell that Rickster's not happy. He's parked that car and he is off.
It's just a good job he's not in a Ferrari.
Yeah. Well, you got to feel for the guy. But at the same time, could kind of see it coming. When he had that big slide around Ascari, that was a time to go, okay, it's not going to make it. I've got to go for a pits. Oh, wow. There's always drama at the end of a World Series race, but well done to Hindle, taking victory in Monza. Toro Rosso and Red Bull taking over the podium here.
It's very tough for me to give a driver of the day. I mean, Hindle's done great. He's a faultless race from what we've seen. But you've got a guy there that's... Konzo got back up to second place. You've got a guy in third that's done a one-stop.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
how do you call a driver of the day on that one? I mean,
I think in a way you give a podium of the day, because I mean all three of them have done great to get where they were.
You know what? I'd probably agree with you on that one, because Hindle's had a fantastic race. Konzo also had a fantastic race. I mean, Hindle was miles out in the distance. Konzo has, but I mean, you can't ignore the fact that Jason there has done a one stop and finished third place.
He started 11th. Look, grid, 11th.
Yeah, he did. He started 11th, finishes third.
Wow.
Fantastic. I've got a feeling there'll be a lot on there, and there is. Okay, we're going to have to get ready to do the podium interviews. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to hear the drivers, and I'm going to have to invite them in. So while I do that... Oh, hang on, it looks like the squirrel's about to come and say something.
Steve, why are you called Steve Sherbet? Is it because you like dipping your stick into white powder?
Well, this squirrel's... not only has he got some nuts, he's got some balls. So come on then, why are you called Steve Sherbets?
I've got a sweet tooth.
All right. It's not because we're trying to have a herb at a hill, a lazy bed. Okay, who was the podium? Connor, Killer Corkin, and I will find them. Killer Corkin and Hindle. There we go. So as we send those invites out and we wait for them to come back in. Okay, Squirrel, now you behave yourself, seeing as we are now on the seriousness of the podium interviews. You look like you was about to say something then, Steve.
Yeah, there's quite a few people commenting on the YouTube stream at the moment saying that we didn't check the race director at the end.
I did.
You did? Apparently someone saw quite a lot of Hindle's name on there, that's all I'm going to say on that, because I didn't see it.
Well, you can't always go on what the race director says, as we know. The race director at the end of the race, because as we know, I mean, there was collisions that sometimes it doesn't put on there. But anyway, okay, I've seen that. I think Konzo has joined us in the commentary booth, or on the podium booth, I should say, for the podium interviews. Please don't swear, you are live. And if you could please, and Hindle has joined as well, if you could please make sure that you have got your party settings allowing your voice to be shared. And we shall wait for Killer Corkin to come and join us.
It wasn't, just to let you know, it was Yasin who finished third.
It was, sorry, yeah. My fault, it wasn't Killer Corkin that finished third. I've sent Killer an invite, it was Jason. So I do apologise about that one, sorry Jason. Well done, Connor. Okay, so... It was. Now, see, Jason's got his microphone on there. He's waiting for his podium interview invite. I've got an invite. So I know someone that can tell him to get lost.
Yeah.
Oh, is he here? Is he here? Right, okay, hang on.
It's alright. Yeah, it's alright. He's left.
Okay, so Jason has now joined us. And Killer Corkin has left. And Konzo, what was that? When you watch the video, you'll know. Okay, Konzo, Killer, and Jason, can you all please make sure that you have your party settings with your microphone set to always allowed, so that we can make sure that we can hear you. And we shall crack on with the podium interviews. So, Hindle, do we have you?
Yep.
We do. Konzo, obviously I know that we've got you. Jason, do we have you on the microphone? Doesn't sound like we've got Jason just yet. So we'll see if he can get his microphone sorted out on that one. He may need to turn his volume up, or perhaps change his party settings from in the game to into the party, prioritise the party. But we will get started with the podium interview. And Jason, if you do manage to get your microphone working, just feel free to give us a shout. So, Hindle, it looked easy for you, was it?
Well, it was from the start, yeah. Well, I got a very good start, and by sector 1, I was 1.5, 2 seconds clear, and then from then I was pulling second by second each sector, and that seemed to be the case throughout the race, to be honest. And first pit come along, and I just took it easy from there, to be honest. Put it in lean for a few laps, saved the fuel, and had a blast at the end, and that was it.
Well, it did look quite an easy race for you. I mean, I would guess that you don't know what happened behind you. There was quite a lot of action going on behind you. I mean, were you aware at any point of what was going on behind you on the track?
No, all of a sudden it was, the gap jumps from like 7 seconds to about 12 seconds in the space of 2 laps, which obviously I didn't mind.
No, obviously you wouldn't when you're leading and the gap grows that much. Okay, so you make a pit stop and you see that Jason is on track. He's in first. How long did it take for you to realise what he might be doing?
Well, 2 laps had passed and I was right behind him and he still hadn't pitted, and I did wonder if he was going to one stop, because obviously he didn't qualify, so he had quite fresh tyres. But after about 3 laps, I overtook him, and I still saw his name in hovering between P2 and P3, so I was quite happy for him, yeah.
Yep. Well, well done to you on a fantastic victory in Monza, and we'll come back to you in a few moments' time. Konzo, another very interesting race involving yourself, your teammate, the cars around. I mean, how do you even start describing your race? I mean, obviously, Hindel's disappeared off into the distance. Did you have a good view of any of the crashes that were happening ahead of you?
Well, the one with Killer, I think, on Paul was going on the outside of him, I think, going into Scary, and I don't know what lap it was, but it was a bit of an ambitious move, to be honest with you, on the Scary. But yeah, I got kind of stuck behind some cars at the start. I had to kind of sit back and save fuel and stay out of the turbulent air, because it was destroying my tyres in the first stint.
Well, it was quite interesting because Steve actually mentioned on commentary, he was saying that I think at this point Conzo is just sitting back, saving fuel, and just waiting for Rickster and Richie Davey to have a crash. And then 4 corners later, they have a crash. So what's going through your mind as all of a sudden you're driving past those two?
Yeah, it was a pretty happy place, like.
Was there a bit of a smile and wave, see you later, boys?
Oh yeah, there was. The drive-by, sticking the finger up now.
Okay, so as it comes down to the last few laps, and you see Jason's name ahead, did you know that he was doing the one stop? Did you think you was going to get him? And what was that last lap like?
Yeah, well, I kind of knew he was in the one stop because how long he did in his first stint. Because he was still ahead of me, I think, or just behind me as he pitted. So I knew he was doing a one stop, so I knew it would be a fight on at the end. And it didn't help, but I didn't have much fuel to fight with at the end, so I just had to keep it on standing most of the time and just try and catch him by sector. And thankfully I did.
Well, it worked, and as the current championship leader, obviously if the positions stay as they are, then you will have gained even more over your teammate Killer Cork. And will we see any team orders coming into play in these last few races? Because by the looks of it, he's going to be your closest rival. So is there going to be any I'm leading, I'm pitting first, let me through, or is it just going to be race it on the track and whoever wins wins?
Yeah, well, it's usually just race it out and see what happens. But the only thing we have is whoever's ahead pits either when they want to early or whenever, like. So. Or if the person behind's had a bit of a collision or problems like Killer did today, he pitted before me. So
that's a good way to work it. Okay, thank you very much and well done. Now then, on to Jason. Jason, do we have you on the microphone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, Jason. We can hear you.
Hello.
Nice to get you on the podium live, and I've got to say, fantastic drive there. A one-stop race, in second place with only a lap to go. Reminiscent of Monaco with that drive there. If you can describe how the race went for you throughout the different stages of it.
I tried to do with one stop, and it went very good. I'm happy for third place. My tire wear wasn't so good in the last 3 laps.
Well, I think you should be very happy with the way that your race went. I mean, Steve mentioned it in commentary. I mentioned it. Like I said, very similar to Monaco, but also very similar to Duo Finn, who he's very good at doing a one-stop strategy. And you're proving again this season that your style of driving, it works. It really works. So a fantastic drive by you there. So that last lap when Conzo catches up and overtakes, was there any disappointment? Was there a thought of, I'm going to fight him? Or was it a case of, I'm okay with third place?
I'm okay with third place.
Well,
it's okay. I'm very happy with third place.
And so you should be. So well done to you, Jason. And we'll go back on to Hindle for a moment. Actually, we'll see if Steve's got any questions he'd like to ask.
Just one for Hindle, really. Considering how he was in his last reserve drive compared to today? Is he confident that what he did today was within the rules of front row racing?
Well, yeah, I did do a few ETLs with tyre wear and that, but I did lift off and I've got the recordings to prove it, and I'll be sending it to the race directors.
Now that is something I like to hear. He's done a few ETLs, he's done his lifts off, but he's recorded his footage and he'll be sending it to the race directors.
So, at this point, he's got the spotlight on him.
Yep.
And because of his previous race, drivers, or other drivers, are obviously going to be a little dubious. And the best thing for him to do is to put his footage out there and go, check it over.
Yeah.
Done nothing wrong.
Got nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Okay, we have got one more question for the leader here, for the winner, for you, Hindle. But you may not fully understand it. Now, it'll make sense later on, but he's been bugging me to ask you a question. So here goes. Are you ready for this?
I'm
I've
ready.
got a question for the winner. The tree I live is on the other side of the circuit. Could you give me a lift in your F1 car, please? I could sit in the cockpit, but I might find some nuts in there, so I could always just hold on to the helmet. And if I fly off, I'll be okay because I'll just end up in the airbox. And if it's raining, that'll be okay because I'll just get blow dried on the way home.
And that was a random question from our Mr Squirrel, who was asking if he could have a lift home because the tree he lives in is on the other side of the circuit.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Sweet, not a problem. Right, okay, that's it from the podium here then in Monza, and that'll make absolutely no sense to you guys whatsoever, but when you watch the video it might. Anyway, thank you very much and well done to Hindle, the race winner in Monza. Conzo, second place in Monza. Jason, third place in Monza. 3 drivers who are going to get a very first in front row racing, which is a triple driver of the day. It's a podium driver of the day. Goes to all 3 of you for 3 fantastic drives there, so well done to you 3. Ray in the commentary booth in the pit lane, who seems to be carrying a squirrel at the moment. Thank you very much for helping us out this evening. Steve Sherbets, as always, thank you very much to you. Thank you very much to everybody that has been viewing, messaging and all those kind of things. We will be live again tomorrow for the FRRI Days Cup event in Monza. It's the feeder system into our F1 League. That'll be from 7:30 p.m. And if you are interested in joining our F1 Leagues, that's the way in to race on the FRRI Days. We will then be live again Friday night at 9 p.m. for the Project Cars Friday League. Call it the PCF. In the Formula Bs, I think round 3 is... oh dear, I can't remember. Hockenheim. It's Hockenheim. So that'll be 9 p.m. Tomorrow night. And then we'll be live again on Sunday for the PCS League, which is round 3 at Alton Park International in the Ginetta Juniors. And then we'll be live again next week for our main front row racing leagues. And just to let everybody know that for the front row racing F1 leagues, round 13 will be live from Singapore. We've been Front Row Racing. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.